Okay, so I think, Sivan, if you're ready, I think we'll start.
Sure.
Great. Okay, so first of all, just a little introduction. This webinar is being recorded and will run on our website as well as our YouTube channel in about a week. So first of all, I'd like to welcome everyone and thank you for joining the Science Abroad Industry webinar. My name is Yona Zimmerman. I joined the organization about 5 months ago to build up and expand the industry track for the organization. So we identify and build relationships between Israeli scientists, specifically PhDs and postdocs, who are living abroad, and we connect them to the industry in Israel. So any Israeli scientist who's looking to collaborate in Israel, looking to open a venture, to start to get a job, if you're an Israeli company looking to hire, significant scientific talent, then please reach out to me, yona@scienceabroad.org.il, and I will be happy to help you. A couple of administrative notes before we start. So these webinars are just one of the many activities designed by Science Abroad to support the Israeli scientists. We do this with the generous support of the Center for Integration in Science and the Business Innovation Department at the Ministry of Aliyah and Integration. So as part of my work, I run these webinars. I usually do them twice a month, and I talk to leaders and innovators who are at the pinnacle of the ecosystem in Israel. During our chats, we hear their stories, we learn about exciting innovations being developed, we get their insights into challenges and opportunities in Israel, and understand what relevant collaborations they might be looking for. And of course, we're here to answer your questions. So this week, without further ado, I'm thrilled to announce Sivan Cohen-Shachari, who is Managing Director of DesertTech. Sivan, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
So please tell us a little bit about yourself and DesertTech. The floor is yours.
So thank you again for the opportunity. Actually, I think I participated in one of your webinars almost a year and a half ago, I think. And DesertTech grew as time went by. And a bit about myself, I grew up in Holon and I arrived to the Negev in 2008 to be a student in Ben Gurion University of the Negev. I studied Hebrew literature and education, which is quite far than what I'm doing at the moment or since in the past 2.5 years ago. During my career, I was mainly in project managing in the area of social entrepreneurship or kind of organizations in the third sector of the Israeli, mainly in the south of Israel, but also in all around Israel, mainly working in the educational part and so on. And 3.5 years ago, I joined Merash Foundation Israel, which is a philanthropic foundation aiming to promote regional economic growth in the Negev. We didn't quite know back then what would be the verticals of our work in the foundation, because we had some reorganizational structure, internal one. And we looked around in the Negev and tried to understand what could be the competitive advantage of the Negev in regards to regional economic growth of the region. And we identified two main areas that the philanthropic foundation could be involved in. One is in agritourism and to promote the region and to invite more and more tourists to the region by using, quote unquote, the assets the region has in the agricultural side, and that's not what I do. I do DesertTech. So it was a whole new initiative for me. I was not doing anything related to business or business development or entrepreneurship, technology, and so on. So I brought the know-how I had from before, how to communicate with people and how to create collaborations between different types of stakeholders. So I brought that knowledge or that experience I had in other initiatives or in other organizations to DesertTech. So what is DesertTech? I'll make the long pitch short, and DesertTech is actually a joint initiative of 4 founding partners, organizations, all nonprofit ones. So is DesertTech. And the main goal of DesertTech is to promote, as I said before, regional economic growth by promoting technologies that would tackle desertification challenges, global ones, while simultaneously position Be'er Sheva, in particular, and the Negev in general, as a global hub for these technologies. The organizations that gather together are Mirage Foundation Israel and Israel Innovation Institute, which is an umbrella organization, an NGO, that promotes ecosystems of technology and innovation that Israel has to offer some new methods or new technologies to tackle these challenges, such as climate change in general, Agtech, smart mobility, digital health, and so on. And they brought to the table the methodology and also the know-how of how to conduct relationships, business ones, between different stakeholders in the ecosystem. The Ministry of Environmental Protection is actually the third partner, and it also matches the funding from that the Mirage Foundation gives to the initiative. And Ben-Gurion University of the Negev that brought mainly the more academic and scientific side to the table, but we expand the collaboration that we have with any other academic institute in the Negev and in general that has something to offer in regards to promoting and taking research out from the academic field to the industrial field or and so on. So that's about it.
So you actually offer support. So if someone were to come to you from an academic institution and they have just even an idea, or they've got an innovation that they've developed in their labs, or what, then they can come to you. And what does the organization give them?
So we serve as a facilitator and integrator between different and various stakeholders. It could be researchers, it could be entrepreneurs, investors, industry, NGOs, governments, policymakers, and so on. We, as DesertTech, we are a team of 3 women. Myself, Sinai, who's into the international development of DesertTech, and Sharon, she's the community manager. She's much more in touch with the startups. We try to understand, first of all, if we take the example you mentioned, what does the researcher have? I mean, does he have a solution, just an initial research and so on? And the main areas we look for solutions for desert issues are in agriculture, water, renewable energy, and infrastructure. We define them after we understood what type of challenges living in arid areas or in areas that might suffer from desertification could face. So it's mainly extreme climate, water scarcity, land degradation, and remote and marginal living. All of these challenges are defined. We define them together with researchers from Ben-Gurion University of the Negev, and then we look for solutions. So if I go back to the example you shared with us before, if a researcher approaches us and say, okay, I have a solution, or I'm starting to think of a technology, who could you connect me with? So I would ask him, what are your needs? Is it connections? Is it money? Is it time? And I often say that time I cannot create for anyone, but I can offer connections to either money or, and I'm sorry to say it just like that open, but it's something that researchers or any entrepreneur needs. So I can connect them with investors and so on. But the competitive advantage that we have in the Negev is actually not just funding opportunities, but also piloting and beta sites for these solutions, meaning that the Negev is although it's 60% of Israel's land area and it's very underpopulated than what it could be, but it can serve as a beta site for technologies or solutions in different areas. And it's unique in comparison to other deserts around the globe in 2 ways. One, it's quite varied. We can find different microclimates, I could say, in Be'er Sheva area, in Mitzpe Ramon area, and in the Arava region, for example. That's one thing.
Oh, that's so interesting. Wow.
And the second thing, that it's quite condensed. I mean, if you would go to a desert in the Sahara, Gobi Desert, and so on.
The sheer scale of things are just
it's so big. So the Negev is quite small in comparison to these deserts. So if someone lands in Ben Gurion Airport, it would take him an hour and a half, 2 hours to get to Mitzpe Ramon, and then all of the desert is just outside of his car. So he could test his technology, go back to wherever he is. For us, as DesertTech, it gives an opportunity to we call them assets of the Negev, to serve as beta sites, either a farmer, a grower, an agricultural R&D center, solar panels plot, wherever he is looking for he has the need as a researcher, we can offer the connection to these entities around the Negev, and we do it with no equity for whatever it is that we do. The goal and the aim is to promote the collaboration and the business opportunities for Negev assets to whoever is over there, Israeli or non-Israeli.
Wow. That's amazing. So talk to me about, you must be seeing, all kinds of innovations and all kinds of new technologies. They must cross your table every day. Tell me about 3 that stand out to you that you see as game changers.
Okay. Like all my sons, in a way, but not. I mean, I'm not involved in any of the innovations and any in the inventions, but yet I can point out maybe 3 in different aspects. One is water gen, which are quite promoted. I mean, and quite developed as a startup. They produce water from the air. I mean, in an area that lack
I heard about
water resources,
with
their technology that is now even implemented in vehicles and so on, you can find from, it doesn't have to be attached to any tap or any running water because they produce the water out of the air. So it could be positioned anywhere we think around the globe. Even if the humidity is quite low, they can still produce water. So think about driving in a car in a caravan in Nevada, for example, and then opening the tap in your caravan and you have water because water gen technology is implemented in your caravan, for example. And that's one example. The second example, I could mention DOTS, which are actually a spin-off of Ben Gurion University of the Negev. And what they do, they monitor the amount of nutrients that are in the soil, and they can tell the farmer or the grower how much he should fertilize the ground or not. And that also depends on the amount of water he uses to irrigate. So once he doesn't irrigate too much, the amount of nutrients could be high. So the plant is not ready to use all these nutrients. So the water would take the nutrients down to the aquifer, for example. So it's very much a matter of balancing the amount of nutrients and the water that you irrigate with. So they can help. It's more of a decision support system for the farmer. It doesn't tell him the exact amount of nutrients, but it would tell him, listen, if we know there are enough nutrients in the ground, don't fertilize that much, or the opposite. And the third startup I'm thinking of is called MNocean, and they have the technology to predict severe and extreme weather events. They use an algorithm that takes the data from meteorological stations all around the globe, and it could tell retailers or farmers or whoever you think of that needs prediction about severe extreme weather events a year ahead, 6 months ahead, and so on, and quite accurate in the time frame of a week, a day. I'm not sure about the hour, but they knew ahead about tornadoes that could happen and so on, and the amount of money that could be saved for the industry, and it varies in different types of industries, obviously. It could save lives.
People, lives and money.
all around the globe. And they operate from an incubator that is located in Hanegeb, the regional council that is a neighbor of Sderot. And he sits over there and looks for collaborations with different types of industries, not Israeli necessarily, but very unique entrepreneur.
Fascinating. Now, Sivan, I'm really excited to hear about this. I know that you just got back from Egypt. You were at COP27. So please tell us what you did there and your insights. How was it? Tell us everything.
Wow. Okay. It feels so long ago, even though I think it was exactly a month ago. But so many things that happened.
It doesn't feel like that long. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly a month.
Okay.
So we understood that I'm not necessarily sure it's a one-time opportunity, but having the conference just around the corner for us as Israelis, I mean, in Egypt,
sure.
It's an hour flight or so. We understood that we want to present DesertTech as a bridge between, I would call it needs owners, and solution owners. So we thought it would be best to present DesertTech and the Negev as a global hub for these technologies at the Israeli Pavilion. But then we got the opportunity to have another event at COP27, and that was to present the initiative of DesertTech with the UNCCD, which is the UN's convention to combat desertification. We collaborate with them to offer a process of needs assessment, a virtual one, with 11 African countries that are neighboring the Sahara. Actually, they're in the Sahel region in Africa. The initiative is called the Great Green Wall. We presented the opportunity for representatives of these countries to join together and learn how to implement innovation and technology in their countries, but not just in general, to implement technology that is relevant to answer and tackle their own specific needs.
Specific community needs based on what they already have. And I love that. Yeah.
And what Israel could bring to there is the brain power of innovation and technology, but could be very specific to what they would describe or define as their needs. Eventually, after that process, the virtual one, they would arrive to Israel to a 4-day seminar. We call it DesertTech and Great Green Wall Leaders of Innovation. And we want them to meet with the Israeli ecosystem, researchers, R&D centers, innovators, policymakers, and so on. So it could be a roundtable of different stakeholders and very unique ones. Eventually, after that process is done, each representative of each country could collaborate with whoever he sees as relevant for them, and then offer the project card that they would write together to different banks of development from around the globe that want to assist, I would say, or to support African countries to tackle these challenges as water scarcity and land degradation and so on, which are very relevant. And the main goal is to stop the expansion of the Sahara Desert souther than the northern part of Africa. So it's an opportunity that we got and we couldn't say no. We actually presented it in the Senegal Pavilion, and we are now after the first batch of applicants. We have over 100 applicants from African countries. Eventually, what I believe it would bring is many opportunities for Israeli innovators to see what the actual world needs and to adapt the technology to real time and on-site collaborators and partners that are not just standing there on the shelf, but people that actually want to take the knowledge and implement it over there.
Sure. When you talk about making an impact, this is, really making an impact that actually, affects individual lives that you can identify and talk to. Sorry, my dog is here. Okay, so let's talk a minute about, sorry. Hey, let's talk a minute about our audience. We're talking to Israeli scientists, PhDs and postdocs for the most part, who are looking to collaborate to the industry in Israel. So 2 questions. First of all, where in terms of climate tech do you see the largest growth in terms of investment? And second of all, what kinds of roles and positions do you see scientific minds taking in this sector?
Okay, so in regards to your first question, we actually published a report in last July, the State of DesertTech report. We actually understood that after almost 2 years back then of work, we had to place a benchmark saying, how does the sector look like now? And then each year from now, we want to update it and see what are the main trends in investments, in relevant technologies that are being developed, and also what the market is looking for. So now we know about the majority of the companies active in the areas of DesertTech come from the agricultural area, agrotech, obviously, but it varies from smart irrigation, sensors, decision support systems, and so on. And it affects the amount of investments or the majority of the investments. Yet I would say that the funding or the major funding opportunities comes from the areas, I would say, of infrastructure, because the amount of money you need to invest in order to have a new material invented or a new method of building in regards to arid areas and so on, it takes a lot more of funding than just having a sensor and so on. So I would say that on one hand, Agtech sector is much more developed in the variety of technologies, but the amount of investment and funding comes from the infrastructure area. I would say maybe about the 2 other verticals that we work on. One is the water technology and the other is renewable energy, that I think Israel at the moment we lack technologies in regarding water desalination, water purification, waste treatment, and wastewater treatment, and so on.
That's so interesting because Israel was once a leader in all of especially the water desalination.
We just lead in that area. So it's not necessarily that Israel as a customer, quote unquote, needs more technologies. So we need to think on new markets that do need implementation of these technologies, and then to see where in Israel it could be tested and then taken out to the actual market, because Israel doesn't necessarily serve as their market for these technologies. And in renewable energy, I think it could take the areas of efficiency of solar panels, which is quite a trend that we look for technologies in that area, and also how to digitize and automate these plots of solar energy production, and also energy in the areas where you can store energy, storage energy, such as batteries and so on. And to take the other question that you had about where could researchers and scientists get involved in technology and startup and so on, I think positions like CTOs would be very much relevant. Some companies do have chief scientists or so on, because they understand that in our areas, it's very much relevant to have someone who brings the scientific approach and the know-how and so on, in comparison to areas such as fintech or gaming and so on, which I'm not an expert in them at all. It's not necessarily a must to have someone who brings the scientific knowledge or the background in these areas. But when we talk about agriculture, and when you want to test the relevancy of a sensor or how you irrigate with saline water, for example, you have to bring the academic knowledge and experience.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. So, Sivan, you and I have spoken a couple times, and when I reached out to you and invited you to do this webinar, you were very enthusiastic, and I appreciate that. So tell me what you're looking for. What's your interest in running this webinar beyond getting exposure? Tell us what your needs are.
So I would be looking for scientists and people who want to investigate more time in understanding the Israeli ecosystem in technology and innovation, and see the potential not just in the next role for them, but also to have an impact on food security for Israel and globally, that see the potential of creating collaborations between academic institutes, innovators, and the real market, I would say. And people who want to explore more opportunities for them, maybe as entrepreneurs, and they have an idea, a research that they want to see how the market would react to it. I could be there for you, I would say, to explore with you who the clients could be, who the partners could be. And I know many investors that look for the spark in the eyes of an entrepreneur, and they would bring the experts and they would facilitate everything that is needed, and they would see themselves as strategic partners of an innovator, but they look for more and more innovative ideas to take them out of the academic box, maybe, and implement it in real life.
Right. A lot of investors aren't just about capital. They're actually venture builders, and they're able to take sort of a scientific idea and build the company around it. You just have to find the right investor. Okay, so first of all, I see that Itzik, you've written here, DOT has developed a really revolutionary product, can really help growers to grow healthy food. Right, exactly. So I guess it already has a name because more than, people are already familiar with it, which is amazing. So Sivan, if anyone wants to get in touch with you, how do they contact you? Do you want to just spell out your email or put it in the chat box?
I'll write it down in the chat box.
Great. And if anyone has questions either here on the Zoom or on Facebook, we'll leave it open for a minute. I see you. Thanks for adding your, okay, Sivan cs@israelinnovation.org.il. Okay, great.
Yes.
Okay.
And I'll also add my link. I think it's fine, and people can reach out to me whenever. I'm quite available, I hope.
Good. So just before we end up, is there anything else that you want to share with us, something that you're excited about, something that you want to sort of, give it a little summary of your vision or how you see the industry growing?
We do look for collaboration also with academic institutes around the globe in general. So we're about to visit Australia, actually, in 2 months. Sinai, my colleague, is going to visit Melbourne and Sydney for a week with an opportunity we got from JNF Australia to visit and to expand our network over there. So if anyone in the region, just let me know, and we can create some meetings for you over there. And also we look for opportunities with the countries in the area, our neighbors. So collaborations with the MENA region are quite strategic for us. We see that we share the same issues, and to sit around the table with the representatives of the UAE or Morocco and so on, it's the Abraham Accords were signed quite next to
the Abraham Accords. Are you guys involved? I mean, there were so many organizations and collaborations sprouting up. Are you guys already collaborating with the UAE and Abraham Accord countries?
We're in touch with some entities over there, either investment groups or official representatives, also with universities in Morocco. So we seek for the right opportunity for and what kind of collaboration we could do with each entity, because it's not generic. It's very tailor-made to what we have to offer and what they look for with an opportunity to collaborate. So anything in regards to it. Also opportunities for funding from Horizon, let's say, or Prima programs of the UAE, of the EU, sorry. We can offer connections to Israeli entities that could join consortium in that matter. So feel free to reach out in that also.
Fabulous. So just out of curiosity, other than Israel, where else do you see tremendous innovation growing that's climate related? I mean, are there any other countries that are taking the lead other than Israel? This is more out of curiosity than anything else.
In regards to technology, I'm not that familiar. I would say the US, because it's quite obvious, but I would also think maybe Germany, because they quite take the lead in that. But I think Israel is looking for what its advantage is not
right.
We wouldn't change the global economy, but we can bring our knowledge and technology to the table.
Right. No, and I think what you said about the selling point about the Negev being sort of a microcosm of a number of different climate ecosystems is fascinating. I don't, you know, that's really a unique selling point that needs to be driven home. So amazing. Sivan, I think you're doing amazing work. I think it's having a real impact.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate your time. Anyone who wants to reach out to Sivan is welcome to reach out to her directly or through me. So this is actually our last webinar of the year. So I invite you, I will be starting again mid-January, and we will have upcoming guests from scientific entrepreneurs, VCs, executives from larger publicly traded corporations, food tech space, as well as Agtech and many other things that are of interest to our audience. Sivan, thank you very much. I'll wish you a Hanukkah Sameach.
Thank you. Have a good night.
And have a good night. We'll be in touch.
Shana tova leKulam. You too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.